Hey Internet, I'm Michael, and today I've got a review for Injustice: Gods Among Us. 2009's MK vs. DC was a nerd's conceptual wet dream, but its humdrum reception stunted any excitement past the game's title. 2011 brought us Mortal Kombat, a reboot that upped the standard for the genre in multiple ways, along with being a ton of fun to play. Since breaking down MK vs. DC seemed to work, developer NetherRealm has created Injustice: Gods Among Us, a fighting game based purely within the DC Comics universe. Bringing just enough over from MK, Injustice is a brilliant fighting game that shows its inspirations, but has enough polish and new ideas to not feel like a carbon copy. Mortal Kombat's story mode shook the notion that fighting games couldn't tell stories. Judging by Injustice's presentation, NetherRealm made sure to bring over those storytelling skills. It begins with Superman, after being tricked, murdering the Joker. This sends old Supes into a mad spiral filled with rage and world domination. The intent is peace, but the practice tells otherwise. Meanwhile, another dimension's versions of the DC heroes get mysteriously transferred to this new universe. Seeing that this Superman is quite insane, the dimension-traveling squad of heroes teams up with the native universe's heroes to try to end Superman's reign. Geez, that was a lot and a little confusing to relay. This game shares that setback. In every cutscene, you'll need to do a quick rethink of who everyone is and what side they are on. Is this the bad Aquaman? So Lex is good here? How many cyborgs are even in this story? It isn't hard and is easily solved with some critical thinking, but the ever-present if-slight confusion can make some events slightly more hazy. That is a small complaint since the overall presentation is noteworthy. While the dialogue, voice acting, and actual narrative beats are engaging, the pacing is the aspect worth praising the most. The lack of any loading and seamless transition from fight to cutscene always keeps things moving. Forward momentum makes it hard to turn off and doesn't allow the player to grow bored, even if the character drama is interesting throughout. The ending isn't exactly the most climactic of finales, but the journey there is well worth taking. Besides, you get to kick your own ass.
Time to kick my ass.
Kicking ass is Injustice's main draw and greatest strength. The basics are fairly standard. Two fighters face off in a two-dimensional setting using an array of special moves and combo attacks to deplete the opponent's 2 health bars first. Traditional, yes, but Injustice takes some risks that separate it from its competitors, but it maintains enough consistency to not alienate that existing fanbase. Combos, extensive juggles, button inputs, and special moves have a similar rhythm to those seen in Mortal Kombat, but Injustice adds some things not present in the bloodier beat-em-up. Environments play a larger role and are part of the fight, almost characters themselves. In most situations, hitting a shoulder button will allow the character to interact with the background. Sadly, these almost always feel unfair. Most of these interactions are projectiles, ones that don't take long to widen up and are unblockable and hard to dodge. These makeshift ranged attacks can be a cheap crutch for those who depend on them and can feel like a riskless maneuver. Being able to block these would probably alleviate this whole issue though. Environment transitions are far more pleasing. Pressing back and the heavy attack button at the same time will, granted that you are in the right part of the arena, will send the opponent clear into another battlefield. Transitions deal heavy damage and are a useful balance tool in a player's strategy, and they also look awesome every time they are executed. The cutscene that accompanies each of the transition is over the top in every way, and they don't grow old even after seeing them a few times. Another change that NetherRealm offers is the Clash system, one which, like its name, conjures up conflicting ideals. The Clash is analogous to MK's Breaker move, interrupting a juggle combo when activated correctly. When initiated, players wager varying amounts of their super meter, and it rewards the top bidder with a health boost or it deals damage to the opponent, which is dependent on who started the clash. To some, it may offer an underlying set of strategy, but it ends up feeling like a cheap way to extend the match and overly punish players who utilize their super meter throughout the match. The roster, a facet which fighting games are judged upon, is fairly solid. Everyone will recognize and click with at least some of the cast, and none will feel like a palette swap. In fact, each plays drastically different from one another, mostly due to the character ability. A button is dedicated to each fighter's unique power, such as Batman's ability to call bats, and further perpetuates how different each fighter plays. Mortal Kombat was heavy on content, and Injustice continues this respectable tradition. Battles mode is like a classic arcade mode, but once unlocked, can carry dozens of arcade modes with different twists. The Stars Lab is like a challenge tower, boasting 240 minigames that train the player via goofy activities. Add in the game's suite of multiplayer and single-player modes, and all these coalesce in a game with a hefty list of things to do. Injustice: Gods Among Us proves that NetherRealm does best when focusing on one of its franchises at a time. Injustice's slick combat system, wealth of content, and an absorbing story mode make for a game that plays as well as it looks. Injustice, despite the name, does great justice to the fighting game genre. I wrote the whole review for the game on the site. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. I highly recommend it for pretty much anyone who likes fighting games. The DLC is already out by the time I'm recording this, Batgirl and Lobo, and I find them to be pretty fun to fight. So if you are interested in the game, I have no trouble recommending it to you. So that's it. Thanks guys for watching, and I love you, and I'll see you later next time.
Here we go.
And keep quiet.
Now that's funny.